If you've ever listened to I Doubt It podcast, the podcast that I do with Jesse, you will know that we spend a decent amount of time criticizing the media. When context is left out, when the focus is on the wrong thing, we're certainly seeing a lot of that right now. And I actually found two prominent examples that illustrate the problem that we're facing with what the media focuses on. My name is Brittany Page from the Page Perspective right here on YouTube. I am guest hosting for Jesse while he is in Scotland. He had to return to Scotland because his friend is critically ill. I did a video about that you can go and check out on the channel to hear the full story. I am going to be guest hosting until he returns. So if you are enjoying me as the guest host, you can go over to my channel and subscribe. I would really love that. And if you're not enjoying me as guest host, you can feel free to leave a hateful comment and feed that algorithm. So I also have a cold. So if my voice is, I guess maybe even more annoying for the haters, then that might explain why. So when you work in political media like I do, you spend a lot of time consuming media, which is good and bad. There are pros and cons associated with that. Some of the cons, it's exhausting. It's not great for your mental health a lot of the time, I would say. But some of the pros are that it gives you a strong and realistic picture of the media. You know which sources are good, which sources are not great. You know who is trustworthy, who's not trustworthy, who makes a lot of mistakes. And it also makes you realize, honestly, how important independent media is. So there were two prominent examples of the media really failing to meet the moment, and this was over the weekend. The first one is from Senator Marco Rubio's appearance on CNN with Dana Bash. Now, Dana Bash was one of the co-moderators for the first presidential debate with President Joe Biden and Donald Trump, where there was zero fact-checking of Donald Trump's constant lies, just lie after lie after lie, and no attempt at fact-checking. And this is fitting because it's what she did with Marco Rubio. Donald Trump's prospective vice president was allowed to lie on CNN. And I want you to hear it for yourself, because here is Marco Rubio going on a tirade just filled with lies about Democrats and their position on abortion. And listen carefully for Dana Bash's fact check. Watch this.
Yeah, I also think it's important to remember the Democrats, their last platform, basically endorsed abortion paid for by taxpayers at any time without any restrictions. So I think really the question here is whether they are going to have a radical, plank of their platform that basically requires Americans to pay for abortions at any time for any reason up until the moment of birth. That was their platform 4 years ago. Let's see what it looks like now when they meet again.
I'm not sure that's entirely true, but I want to focus, if I may, on what your party is doing.
So did you hear that? Dana Bash's fact check was, I'm not sure that's entirely true. And then she moved on to a different topic. Not sure that's entirely true. Are you kidding me? And I know people are watching this and they're like, it's CNN. What do you expect? Unfortunately, I expect more, because millions of people watch CNN. Unfortunately, it's on in airports, it's on in restaurants, and people are being misled by this nonsense. Do Democrats endorse taxpayer abortions until the moment of birth? That's the question. Of course not. That is not, what did she say? I'm not sure that's entirely true. It's entirely false, Dana Bash. So this is something that Republicans float out often. Donald Trump did it during the debates, saying that abortions up until the moment of birth, right? It's a lie. In fact, let's do a fact check here. Let me ask you guys, we know that the vast majority of abortions occur early in pregnancy, prior to 10 weeks gestation. But Lil Marco is talking about abortions later in pregnancy. So what percentage of abortions would you guess occur at 21 weeks or beyond? What percentage of abortions occur at 21 weeks or beyond? I'm giving you some time, you see. Okay, here comes the answer. Abortions at or after 21 weeks are uncommon and represent 1% of all abortions in the US. And this is according to KFF. And I'm going to read a little bit more about these types of abortions. Quote, The procedures are expensive and often require travel and lost wages. They normally require treatment over multiple days and are only performed by a subset of all abortion providers. Claims of abortions occurring moments before birth or even after birth are false. These scenarios do not occur, nor are they legal in the United States. Reasons individuals seek abortions later in pregnancy include medical concerns such as fetal anomalies or maternal life endangerment, as well as barriers to care that cause delays in obtaining an abortion. So no, Marco Rubio, Democrats are not pushing for taxpayer-funded abortions until the moment of birth. And Dana Bash, you should hear that too, because you should be fact-checking that when someone says it. It would be nice if we all understood the realities of abortion here, because the reality is that there shouldn't be restrictions on abortion, knowing that the abortions that do occur later in pregnancy are extremely rare and happen for a very important reason. So this is enough is enough. I'm sick of having these politicians go on these shows and just zero fact checking, not even an attempt. We need an attempt at least, please. There was another example though, so let's not get too fired up, this time from Axios, and I want you to see this tweet. So this tweet says, quote, Justice Amy Coney Barrett is establishing herself as a new intellectual center of gravity on the Supreme Court. Axios, what's going on? This was the headline. Amy Coney Barrett makes her mark. I'm sorry, what? What is happening with this? Amy Coney Barrett, this is how they framed, by the way, her contribution to the Trump immunity ruling. The ruling that former presidents have at least some immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts while in office. This is what Axios wrote, quote, and her concurring opinion in the court's presidential immunity case had some flavors of dissent. Flavors of dissent, but she ultimately signed on and gave the presidential immunity. So what is the point? What's the point of that? The flavors of dissent. So I don't understand what this impulse is. This is a woman who has made contributions to radically shifting the legal landscape in this country. While women are forced to carry babies they don't want and can't afford to care for, Axios is like, hey guys, Amy Coney Barrett, she's making her mark. It's important that we talk about that. This is why independent media is so important. And I'm not just talking about this channel, I'm talking about any channel that is able to take an interview on a mainstream media channel and explain why it was conducted poorly, or to take a headline from a prominent news organization and explain why that is not a good way to frame a story. We need independent media. So whether it's this channel or another channel, please support whoever you can. What do you think? I'd love to know. You can call and leave a voicemail, 714-576-4054, or you can send an email to daily@dollemore.com. You can support this work by becoming a channel member for as little as $1.99 a month, or by heading over to Patreon, patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. Listen, as we're going through this very difficult time with the personal crisis with our friend who's in the hospital in Scotland, I just want to say I appreciate all the supportive comments and the very loving messages that we've received. We appreciate your kindness. We appreciate your support. And I look forward to seeing you during this week. So as Jesse would say, be genuine and take care of one another.